Hello folks, I just thought I'd chip in on James Griffith's question thread about whether it is rude to call something overrated. I've watched quite a few of the videos about this. I've just watched Danny's video, which is very thought-provoking. I liked his concept, or that he talked about the idea of criticism is autobiography. I think that sums up a lot of, many of us, kind of are coming to the realisation, really. But I also have watched Jeff's and Andrew's. I've read comments from various people. I think Martin Parrott had something to say on it. And it is an interesting question. I have to say that the idea that saying something is overrated and someone taking umbrage and being upset is kind of... that's a little bit, I don't know, an overreaction, really. I mean, the only people that technically should be able to take umbrage and be annoyed with you calling an album overrated is the people who have made the album. You know, what vested interest do you have? Apart from, of course, and it's a very big interest we have in it, isn't it? It's the way we connect to music, when we connect to specific albums, specific artists, and there becomes an almost tribal thing. And these there we go. So this was, sorry. So these records that we rate become an important kind of commodity in understanding other music. I am just going to ramble this one, so there's no real direction this is going to go in. I'm not going to even talk about this one. I think everyone kind of knows my feelings on prog rock. Having said that, that is probably the least prog rock album of all prog rock albums, because it's kind of one of the early ones, isn't it? So it's more hard rock, a bit of psych in there. I enjoy it. It's got some nice moments. The idea of something being overrated or underrated does seem to be something that you are unable to actually challenge. The whole action of something becoming rated sort of means that you don't have a voice in that. If we're talking, I suppose actually you need to think about what does it actually mean. And overrated can mean there's people that rate it highly. So it's 10 out of 10. This one goes up to 11. So the rating is, the overratedness is actually the quality of what people think, though, on a scale of 1 to 10. But then you've also got, I suppose, overrated as in the number of people. So you're saying two things. One, you're saying, A, it's not as good as other people think. And then B, you're also saying that actually all of those people that rate this are slightly wrong, have got it wrong. You know, there is something conceited about suggesting that you know better than a majority. It's almost like, I mean, for me, it seems that if something is rated, I mean, clearly it's where do we get this idea of where something's rated from? I think some people have mentioned, Danny just mentioned the sort of books and the magazines that you read about these things, the 100 albums, 1,000 albums to watch before you die. I think Jeff showed one of those, and so there are those sort of positions and places we find them. There's also our friends, our peer group, the society and communities we live in, and sometimes these things are the bonding tools, the things that hold together communities of people, a shared understanding and a shared likeness for something. And I think the thing is, if you think about this in terms of almost a scientific research project, if you were, or even if you're just researching something for consumer research or something like that, you are going to gather as much information or people's ideas and their ratings of something as you can. And as we know with any sort of experiment or the results of the data that you get back from it, leads you to a decision. So if you were to give out questionnaires randomly to people about which is the best Beatles album, and you gave them a list, and if it came back with this saying it was number one, I feel you would be unable to say it's overrated, because it's got the rating it deserved from that sample group. And I suppose the sample group is all important. Clearly there's a subjectivity, and I think that there are the received canon, as Dean called it. That these are two of the albums that are often cited as being the best, and I think that idea about also the received canon as being something that it's almost set in stone. It's the sacred cow, and of course sacred cows need to be slaughtered. And there is a sense, isn't there? I mean, I myself, I'm quite opinionated about music, but I recognise my opinion and the difference between quality. So I don't believe that you can possibly say an album is crap. You can't. You can say, I don't like it, I hate the sound of it. You can't say it's crap. I was kind of writing in the comments to James's original video about this, that just because you have an opinion doesn't change things. So I had a philosophy teacher who would hate it when anyone tried to validate their point by saying it was their opinion. It's almost like that's a get out of jail free card. It's their thing that stops anyone from saying anything else. But if you're putting a value judgment on something and saying that's your opinion, yes, you can have that opinion, but there are finite things. So, for example, if I was to say that album cover is red, but that's my opinion, you would say, no, it's not, it's kind of blue. You can't have an opinion that that's red when it's not blue, so there's right or wrong. And music is subjective. There's nothing really objective about it. I was trying to think of something that actually could be crap. I suppose you'd be talking about bad musicianship, people who can't play their instruments, somebody who can't sing. But there are singers and musicians out there who are not the most amazing musicians and singers. I mean, good old Tom Waits, there's some people would find his voice absolutely abhorrent. They hate it. But you can't say it's bad. He's not a bad singer. So I think this idea... It's going to fall down. I don't want to do that. Yeah, I think I'm kind of starting to ramble, really. I think it ties in with a thing that... I'm trying to remember who was it posted it. About the idea about how scientifically proven modern music is shit. And I really dislike that, because the scientific things were flawed. And, it would say the timbre of music in the last 15 years has changed. That's proof, apparently, that the music is crap. No, it's proof that the music is different. There's no value on whether the timbre of the music should be of a certain type. It develops. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off the point, but this does tie in with it. And it's interesting to say that something's underrated, because again, it's a conceited thing. It's you saying, I recognise something that you guys and you people don't know. And there's a lot of conceitedness in the way we judge things and the way we talk about things, and it's like the number of bands I've liked that no one else had heard of, and you kind of go, why aren't people listening to this? Oh, they're idiots, this is brilliant. And then they get famous, and then you kind of hate that other people have kind of found your little niche band. Yeah, I am straying off topic now. But yeah, underrated, overrated. Nothing's just rated, is it? In terms of bang on. Is there a, you know, it's a sliding scale either way, isn't it? And I think, as some people have pointed out, you know, Danny was talking about context, and of course there's always context. The idea, and I loved his idea that that you have to listen to something like Sgt. Pepper in context of the time, of how much it had moved things forward, or it differed from what was already out there. And I think, you know, and that, of course, is the same with things like that. But, you know, both these albums are over 50 years old. And there's something incredibly depressing about saying that this is the greatest album of all time. So you're saying that the best pop music, the best rock music was done 50 years ago, and everything in between is worthless and has no point. We might as well have stopped with this and all gone and, I don't know, had a fag, a cigarette. So I don't know. I should have started this with some notes, but I thought I'd just wade in, really. I think everyone else has made some very thoughtful videos. Certainly Jeff, Danny, Dean, and James, of course, at the beginning, and Andrew. At the end of the day, I like a lot of music. I mean, I'm a big country fan, and you're constantly going to have people going, that's rubbish. So maybe you kind of get a thick skin. But then there's always that sense that I always feel, I know something you don't know. And that is a sort of a sense of power. And I'm an egotistical arsehole, really. And but equally, I'm quite pragmatic, and I understand that there's no right or wrong. And there's plenty of stuff I don't like, but I would never say it was crap. I might joke about saying it is rubbish and crap. I think I did in my response to James's video. But you can't say that. For everyone else, it's like I was saying with modern music. I think it's brilliant that Kanye West and Taylor Swift are enjoyed by an audience out there. That people love their music. That's enough. You know, in fact, I'm quite glad that I don't get that music and I don't like it, because it's not for me. You know, music, and the younger generation should be able to jettison everything from the past. You know, this is our music. This is not our parents' or grandparents' music. You know, rock and roll, punk. That was what it was all about. It was all about moving on and having music that was different from what your parents listened to. Unfortunately, we're kind of coming to a place where people are expecting this homogenized kind of music that everyone enjoys. And I suppose in America you probably have a bit more of that because of the radio and the television being far more commercial. I mean, we're lucky to have the BBC here because it has a kind of a remit to broadcast a wide variety of music and TV programming, radio programming. So it doesn't have to be commercial. It doesn't have to sell advert space. So it can do a documentary on bizarre Guatemalan nose flute players. Anyway, I'm gonna stop this. I'm rambled far too long. So overrated, underrated. You're in no position to say it. Equally, if somebody says it about your band you like, it's water off a duck's back. Who cares what people think? You know, you don't like a band. Well, you shouldn't like a band just because it makes you look cool. And I know there are people that have done that. I know someone actually who bought a huge collection when they were younger of sort of 90s indie records because he wanted to fit in. He didn't like the music, he didn't listen to the music, but he wanted to have people, when they came around to his house, see that he had all these records. Now that's barking mad. And if you ask me, that's overrated, being cool. That's a good place to end, isn't it? Cool is overrated. Yeah. Bye-bye for now.